A very warm welcome to all the attendees. Thank you for joining us in this webinar on automating your employee appraisal process and how to go about. I am Manali Vyas, your host today for this webinar. This session will be for 45 minutes. This webinar is conducted by Synergita. Synergita is a cloud-based performance management and analytics software which helps you focus on employee performance, employee engagement, and employee development. I would like to introduce you to the speakers for this session. The first presenter for today's session is Mr. Hariharan Subramanian. He is the Head of Talent Management, India at Aspire Systems. Hari has 15 plus years of experience handling various roles within HR function. Hari currently handles the talent management at Aspire Systems. He has worked in various HR roles at Capgemini, Oracle, and TCS prior to Aspire. The second presenter for today's session will be Mr. Yoga Mukaya. Yoga has several years of experience in implementing softwares in several companies. Currently, he is managing the implementation team for Synergita. He works closely with several customers for automating their employee performance appraisal and continuous feedback activities. He has opportunities to observe what several great place to work companies are doing in employee performance space. Now, before handing over the control to Hari, here are a few housekeeping instructions. All phones are set to mute. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat window located beside the presentation panel. We have already received several questions from the registrants which will be answered by the speakers during the Q&A session. We will continue to collect more questions during the session as we receive and will try to answer them during today's session. If we are not able to address your queries during the session, you will certainly receive answers via email shortly. Thank you for your participation and enjoy the session. Over to you, Hari.
Thank you, Manali. Very good evening to all of you. Good morning, good evening, because we have people across the globe who have joined for this discussion. It's my pleasure being one of the panel member for this discussion. Thanks, Synergita, for giving me this opportunity, and also for taking the right topic that is there in the market in everybody's mind, talking about what next on performance management. But automation of performance management is actually the first step towards taking performance management to the next level. I'm sure any organization that has 1 or 2 employees working for them, there is an expectation, there is a delivery, there is an evaluation. If that evaluation is needed, then there is a need for performance management. My first slide shows it all in terms of what performance management is looked at as, or how people are perceiving this concept of performance management. And the moment I'm sure all my HR friends are there in the call will also agree with me. The moment we say performance management, there is both positive and a negative attachment on the emotional side to this concept, because it talks about what next as a concept and what has happened, and also it is fairly and very closely attached with the rewarding mechanism in most of the organization, irrespective of the industry. And this evaluation adds as a very, very important input towards rewarding performance or rewarding high performance and selecting people for the next designation, people for the next role. So it plays a very, very important role. Also, there is an emotional attachment in terms of what people are perceiving about me, how they are valuing me, how they are evaluating me. So people used to wait for this evaluation once in a year or twice a year, depending upon the organization style. They are waiting, and then they will wait for the output and then see how is it going. It also has other angle to it where most of the times it is directly impacts the attrition or retention of the organization. So the organization retention percentage or attrition percentage, whatever we call it as, or however we want to put it across, is impacted by this performance management all about. Guys, I might sound like a radio jockey, I know, but we don't want you to get into the mute option and then listen to the radio. It is more about make it interactive. So whatever questions you have, please put it in the chat box so that we can address it at the end of the session during the Q&A. Manali, can you go to the next slide, or I think Yoga will be able to help me. Yoga, can you go to the next slide? It's a book definition, or you can call it our current book Wikipedia definition. But what I want to highlight is it talks about evaluation, it talks about job performance of a particular employee, and it has to be documented. When we are saying documented, it can be, people are following a paper pencil model today, or it can be an Excel sheet or a Word, Microsoft Word, or it can be an automated tool. And then when we are talking about it, it doesn't stop with evaluation for the current year. It also, create a roadmap for the next year by creating the right career development path. So we identify what are all the areas that person has done well, not done well, and what are all the things he has to do well the next year, and what are all the potential he's having, so that the new role he can adapt to or take up new challenges and then perform. And this has to be communicated to the individual, otherwise it doesn't make any difference whether it is recorded or not recorded. So there has to be a regular review. And end of the day, why all these things are happening? Because it is not just stops with the individual performance impacts the overall organization performance, organization success, organization growth. Having said that, it is also important where it all starts, how this entire concept of performance management starts. So I'm going to take a couple of slides or a couple of content to explain you all what we usually talk about. Very important is goal. What happens is a lot of us or a lot of our managers, a lot of our line managers have a confusion between a wish and a goal, right? In the sense, when we talk to a manager, they might be like, what do you think this person has to improve? Then the person will be like, yeah, this person has to improve his communication skills. I don't know whether it is a goal. It is more like a wish, because communication is a very, very broad area. When we are talking about that, it has to be percolated to a very specific action-based, time-based statement. And that statement has to be recorded black and white for future reference, for any further updates, for any changes. So any goal only if it is written down, and it has to have a very, very specific outcome. You can't have things in air. It has to be very specific when it comes to a communication. Say, for example, what area you want that person to improve on, and within what time frame, and how do you derive results? What is the result mechanism? So you need to also give what is that specific outcome. And it has to be written down. If it is not written down, in the sense, if it is not recorded black and white, shared between the person who's setting the goal and the person who's going to work on that goal, it has to be a transparent opportunity for both to review it, agree to it, and that's when the entire concept of evaluation starts. Yoga, the next slide. Okay, it's very important when we are talking about performance management, how the scenario is. It is also a combination of perception, and it is also a combination of our current methodology doesn't support certain things. The moment performance management comes to our mind, it's like, it is one person versus the other. They don't look at it as one to many. And second thing is, people look for transparency. People are looking for feedback. They want to know the feedback where they stand, but they want it in a very, very transparent manner, and they want to avoid all the subjectivity in it, right? And today what happens for managers, more than performance management, that they are becoming a task oriented, and they are focusing more on the task and not on the evaluation. So they miss out on the timelines. Sometimes they are not very comfortable rating somebody also, because they feel that, if I rate, this person will be happy, the other person will not be happy, I might lose this person, I might give wrong expectation to somebody. So they want to play a good boy role. In that challenge, they have this fear of rating somebody, so they don't give preference to performance management process at all. And also when we are having a very Excel sheet model or a paper pencil model, the challenge is lack of data. In the sense, one is the history data, and two, even in the current cycle, comparing people from different departments or comparing people within the departments at same level and doing some analysis to understand how as an organization we are doing. Because if it is going to be only between one person to the other, then it doesn't focus on the organization growth or organization performance. So end of the day, it has to roll up to the organization performance and create the first step towards recording the right performance, evaluating people, rewarding their performance, and elevating people to the next level. And I'm sure most of your organizations will be talking about either a 180 degree or a 270 degree or a 360 degree feedback. The moment we are talking about anything other than 90 degree feedback, there needs an anonymous support. So if that anonymous feedback is not collected, the objective of it will be lost and people will not be very comfortable to talk about it. So in an Excel format or in a paper pencil format, we might not be able to achieve this anonymity at all. So that's why we are going to talk about how important it is and how we are going to go ahead. See, when we are looking at overall performance appraisal concept in an organization, first of all, it's a I think in this group, I'm sure all of you will agree, because we are all HR fraternity from the same fraternity. Within us, we will be able to agree that it's a very complicated function. Complicated is not from the philosophy perspective, but complication is in terms of involving so many stakeholders in the process. It is not just between one to one, it is going to be one to many. There is a peer feedback, there is a co-manager feedback, there is somebody who works on a small project, come back, work on some assignment, coming back, or working in a different department, getting transferred. So there is so many stakeholders who are involved. So end of the day, as I said in my goal setting slide itself, when we are in the beginning, it has to be a joint goal setting. And it can't be just one-time communication. We can't just have in the beginning talked about it and then take it forward. Okay, this is what we said. Let's go ahead. Let's come back at the year end and then relook at it. That's not possible. It has to be an ongoing, frequent, two-way communication. It also has to have a result. It can't be a rating, or it can't be a number or a nomenclature. We call it good, very good, excellent, fantastic, or 1, 2, 3, whatever. It doesn't stop there. It has to have a proper employee development plan. So that is a very, very important angle from a performance management. And end of it, as I said, it has to reward. Whom we are rewarding. So performance management is going to give us that criteria, saying that, hey, this person stands here based on whatever inputs you have given. This is how the analysis shows, or this is where the person stand at. Based on that, this person is going to be rewarded accordingly. Yoga, next slide, please. So today, organizations might look at a lot of things based on the current headcount we have or current methodology that we have. But when we are talking about a long-term and also a scalable thing, there is very, very important need for automation, because automation solves 80% of the problem in terms of operational, whether it is going to be a reminder sent to people because you need to finish certain things on timeline, and then set that discipline in terms of, hey, this is the time for you, take a break, take a pause, review all the performance that has happened, record it black and white in the system, and the system is going to give you that repository for future reference. And also, most of our organizations are having managers who are having virtual teams, whether people are sitting in the same building sometimes, or they are sitting in some other offices, some other country, so they need to be connected. So more than emailers, it can be different time zones or anything, somebody going there, recording it, and then finishing their job, saving it and coming back, somebody else go back and then look at it. And there is also a monitoring done by the HR with right responsibilities and right roles defined, so that they will be able to see where it stands, whether it has crossed every stage. Because I'm sure all of you will agree, it doesn't stop with just goal setting or review by the manager. There is a self-review, and there is a manager review, and there is a sometimes roundtable discussion if you're following a bell curve, or like most of the organizations are moving towards a non-bell curve methodology or a non-rating methodology. Whatever it may be, it has to be a two-way process. And if you don't have a defined methodology, then trust for people is also going to come down. And the moment people lose trust on any process, then that initiative is not going to be successful. I'm sure all of us would have gone through it. So when we are talking about automated system, what it covers overall, very important factor is it covers alignment with the organization goal, in the sense whether it is going to be a top-down or a bottom approach or a horizontal or a vertical or horizontal vertical combinations, whatever may be the permutation and combination. End of the day, there is an overall objective and there is a department objective which boils down to the individual objective. That's when the person will feel a satisfaction saying that, yes, what I'm going to do contributes to the organization's success. If these things are not aligned, then it's not going to be helpful. So all the goals get recorded starting from the organization goals to the individual goals so that he will be able to see the relevance. Second, goal setting on a very proper manner. It can be two-way. One, at an organization level, for each designation or each band or whatever we call it, for each level we can have competency framework defined. That framework can be for about 70% or 60%, and the remaining 30 or 40% can be individual specific goals. This goal setting has to happen on time. Whatever said late is equal to never said. So there is no point saying it later. And those reviews are going to be a periodical review. So every time if an HR person or set of HR people going to spend only time on sending emails, collecting the responses, putting it in an Excel sheet, again sending it, again collecting it, then it will be a round the clock job only for performance appraisal. We will not be able to focus on development. So you initiate a cycle, simultaneously you concentrate on something else, and people will be doing their self-review, they will be doing their manager review, and then complete it, system records it, then you close the cycle, take it, do only the analysis part. Also, I'm sure you would have heard of this term called RTD, roundtable discussions. Our famous, close to heart bell curve, the normalization process. If you are doing normalization formally or informally, I'm sure all the organizations will do a roundtable discussions, and systems are available today where it helps you to do the roundtable also or check the normalization also in the system. And when we are talking about the softer aspects of the coverage, one, it is going to help you for a continuous feedback, because it can't be a feedback now and then, and it can't be once in a year, or it can't be maximum of twice a year. It has to be on a continuous process, and it has to be recorded then and there, so that we can't trust on people memory, right? And we can't take a risk whether they are doing the right thing or not. So we can't take that risk. We need to have a continuous feedback, and we need to maintain anonymous, and whatever discussions that are happening. Now there are systems which are something like Synergita, where you can even record whatever discussions you are having, whatever meeting summary the manager and the individual are having after the meeting. That can also be recorded for future reference. At any point of time the person says, no, this is not, I agreed, then the manager can go and show, or the manager says, no, this is not what I said, then the person also can go and show, and we can avoid all those small hiccups or all those inconvenient situations. Okay, how to go about it? Very important. You need to select a tool which is very simple, because automation itself is to make our job easy. That is going to take time, then it is not going to be helpful. You can select whether a balance scorecard or any scientific method for defining the alignment process from a top to bottom. And also you need to select things which will have restricted user and in the sense restricted access for certain people. You can define it, you can customize it the way you want, you can define the flow of it, where it is starting, what is the cycle, when you want to do it. And also you need to upload the previous data, the earlier years data, that also has to be uploaded, because when you kickstart this, it has to be there for the future reference. Next one, Yoga. Nothing comes for free, right? So we have been talking about why automation and how we are going to do it, or what is it needed, but what we are going to get out of it is very important. Most important is, as a HR fraternity and as line managers, we can concentrate on the philosophy of performance, evaluating, developing people, identifying high performers, rather than doing the operation stuff. Second, the information flow is going to be a step-by-step process. You can stop anywhere, you can revert it at any point of time, and you are going to monitor the flow and have a good control. and people working from across the globe. Most of our organizations are MNC, so the system is going to be an internet-based system, so it's going to be available 24/7. I'm sure there are, the systems are also getting enabled where you can access it through even mobile phones. And you can decide how many cycles you want, 2 cycles, 3 cycles, or quarterly one, confirmation, probation, all that can be included in an automation tool. And it can be completely customized. But end of the day, what gives a person satisfaction is transparency. And transparency will be there as part of any automated tool, and it will give you the right data for reporting, analysis, and for any future reference. So unless and otherwise we move towards the next level of automation, then it might not be very easy for us to handle the growth of the organization in terms of numbers, in terms of complexity, and in terms of employee expectation. Thank you.
Thank you, Hari. Now we will invite Yoga to highlight how Synergita can help in your employee performance management journey. Over to you, Yoga.
Thank you, Manali. And thank you, Hari. It was an enlightening presentation on the need for an automation, what to look for in performance management system software, and how you will benefit from using good performance management software. I take the privilege of introducing to you one such software which covers all your employee performance management software needs. Synergita underscores the industry best practices through its continuous feedback-based performance management practices and simple and easy to use interface. Synergita is an award-winning cloud-based employee performance and engagement software. Several customers like Global Agent, Breaks India use our software. It is built around 3 important building blocks: goals management, continuous feedback, and rewards, periodic reviews, and check-ins. Synergita is a continuous employee performance management and development and engagement software. Helps in building a world-class company culture driven by employee recognition. If you see, we start from goals management, continuous feedback, recognitions, check-ins, and annual reviews. We normally focus on holistic employee development. So performance appraisal review process. So this is where many of our organization they are using this the global process what we currently show here. Normally start up with set goals, and then the self-evaluation happens, the manager feedback happens, the recommendation also happens along with the peer and manager feedback, and approval from the HR or the group heads, and then one-on-one meeting can happen, and appraisal paper distributions can happen. This is the generic process wherein most of our organizations follow this process. And the SMART goals, like we talk about goals, we all know that during the beginning of the year, we may have like X number of goals. During the year, some may get dropped off, some may change, and some goals may be added. So it is important to take a stock of goals and progress every quarter and make sure that these goals are updated continuously. Synergita has a better way to manage the goals, and you can track the goals continuously. And to talk about continuous feedback. Continuous feedback is one of the very useful feedback mechanisms which Synergita has currently. And throughout the year, anytime during the year, you can do this continuous feedback. So it is very important to keep track of feedback provided throughout the year. Managers would appreciate the work done by their team members, share the customer happiness mail, or provide some areas of improvement. Managers have to coach their team members on continuous basis. Synergita makes managers' life easier here through its simple and easy to use continuous feedback interface. Here managers can give rewards to their team members, appreciate them, or provide feedback. All this will be added to employee diary, and managers can refer these during reviews and have a meaningful conversation. And periodic reviews and check-ins anytime during the year. In case if you feel that like if an employee has to go through some review period, wherein you can just like that create a review period for an individual, and then you can capture all the points what you have discussed with an employee, and you can keep track of it. And a review of goals, like which we have already talked about, like all these goals can be reviewed on a periodic basis anytime during the year, and you can keep track of the goals, whether the goals are achieved or not, and what all the goals are still pending and lagging, and you can keep track of it and you can push it to the closure. And during appraisal and review process, the managers can directly get into the system with their action items. Within just 2 clicks, you'll be able to get into your action item, and managers can do their managers feedback and recommendations and one-on-one meetings, and training recommendations also can happen within Synergita. And review goals and provide feedback. Like, see, whenever we set a goals, and we need to review the goals, and we have to provide the feedback based on how they have progressed throughout the year with their goals. And we have the target. We can set the target, and we can also set the due date for individual goals. And you can very well track all these things and provide feedback based on their achieved target and achieved the goals. And this is how the provide feedback is going to be within Synergita, and it is going to be very easy when you see it from a manager's perspective. All the targets and due dates, everything is going to be visible, and the scores, whatever the self has rated for themselves, and also the manager scores can be visible. This is how you can keep track of a complete set of goals for an individual. And competencies also can be tracked in the same way. And you can track the competency of every competency section can be tracked here. And the score calculations can happen in various set of stakeholders, self, a primary manager, and a co-manager scores. In case if you have any peer score, that can be also be a part of it, and a consolidated score, the overall score can be obtained from the score calculations. And if you see overall, once the feedback is completed, the complete status and the process visibility can happen within the organization for the DH and above, like in the managers and above, and the HR can have the complete visibility of the exact status of the current feedback cycle and the visibility of the rating itself. And the consolidated reports, wherein it is going to help you in terms of analyzing the scores based on the course derived from the feedback process. Now, all these reports are readily available within Synergita, wherein all you need to do is, once the process is completed, everything is going to be available in your dashboard. And Synergita has several features which will help the HR and managers transform their employee performance management journey into an automated process. And if you want to talk about the salary revision letters, the salary revision letters can be processed with just a small input which is needed from the compensation part. As soon as we get that, the salary revision letters can be distributed from the system itself. And also, to be the best part of Synergita, if you see all these the process what we have talked about so far, we are into different steps. For example, like we may be in self feedback, primary manager feedback, or we may be into different steps. So anything, in case if anything is pending, Synergita is going to send an automated notification and the reminders to all set of employees and managers what are all the pending items there, and that has to be completed within this due date, and that can be very well managed and configured within Synergita. Overall, if you see, the expectations are set on first day of employment at the beginning of the year, and the goals and check-ins and the annual reviews and the continuous feedback. If you see overall, if you track all this process at an annual review process, you can have all this consolidated view in one single page and in couple of clicks. That is all you need to do. In 2 clicks, you'll be able to see the complete history of an employee, and based on that, you can give a feedback, or you can provide you can provide a training plan for an individual. All this could be possible within Synergita. And as I told you, like Synergita has several features which will help the HR managers transform their employee performance management journey. And it reduces the length of employee performance management process cycle by making it more efficient, and improve the workflow between the managers, employees, and the HR. Again, it is going to increase the efficiency. and it is going to increase manager and employee participation and on-time completion. That is it from my end. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Hari and Yoga, for sharing your experiences with us. Now, we have received some questions and we will pose these questions to Hari and Yoga. So here is the first question. This question is for Hari. Have you automated your process, and what are the savings that you have managed to do by automating your appraisals?
Okay, very, very important question, right? Because being in the business, any change that we are doing, first thing we will look for is what is the ROI. So, but before, I would like to answer this question. The idea of this discussion or the idea of highlighting certain things is that, how automation as a process helps and why it is needed and how can it be done. Right, so we have just touched upon various activities that were involved, where, what it covers as a process and what will be the result as well. So to answer this specific question, yes, we have automated. The ROI is on the effectiveness of this entire process altogether, which is going to help people to feel happy about it, and they are going to get retained. I'm going to retain the right people, but more than anything, the time and effort that goes from whether it is going to be HR, whether it is going to be business, whether it is going to be any stakeholder who are involved in this process, the time taken by each one of them and the effort that goes is a big change. And second thing, when we are looking at from an ROI perspective, it is also that the number of reviews I want to have or the customization of it I'm going to do, and when the headcount increases. For example, if the organization is a 400 or a 300 member organization and we are fine with an Excel sheet model, but when we are moving towards an automation model, even if it is going to be 1,000 or 1,500 or 10,000, the effort that goes from the HR and the managers and the person who's filling the form, everything is going to be the same irrespective of the headcount. So on a long-term basis, the ROI will be on a regular basis, and also people will start feeling the comfort for doing the process, and that's where the success of the process will also be.
Thank you, Hari. Here's another question. This is for Yoga. How long will it take to complete the appraisal process for a 500 people organization using Synergita?
With respect to the size of company like the 500, it depends on how exactly the process flow works here, and also depends on the feedback forms, how many number of feedback forms you have. Approximately, if you take out of 500 employees, if you count that as 100 plus designations or the feedback forms as going to be, then approximately it's going to take around 4 to 6 weeks of time to implement this and to roll it out.
Okay, thank you, Yoga. Another question is for Hari. How can software enable real face-to-face conversations?
Okay, we are not looking at this as a supplement for face-to-face conversation. Automation can't be a supplement for face-to-face conversations, but automation is going to be an enabler for having a better face-to-face conversation. And it is going to help you starting from scheduling that particular meeting, upfront sharing the feedback before even going for the meeting, because the person will be well informed in terms of what was this appraisal cycle all about, where they evaluated me, and then be prepared for the meeting. So it is going to be helpful to make it much more effective, much more efficient, and it is not going to replace. We are not talking about a video-based, discussion and replace the human touch that is there. But it has to be useful and also valuable effort that goes.
Okay, thank you, Hari. One attendee have asked, we have implemented SAP PMS system, but we don't have feedback system. How to manage this situation? Yoga, please.
Yeah. See, we have done the integration with Synergita with various setup tools like SAP and other tools. So the integration is possible here, and we can have our PMS system can talk to your system, and definitely we can do the integration, and that is possible, and we can have Synergita as a performance management based software.
Okay, Yoga, here's another question for you again. Can we import our existing KRA and KPI into Synergita?
Yes, yeah, that is definitely possible. Yes.
Okay. Another question for you, Yoga, again. What would be the basic requirement for PMS automation with Synergita?
Basic requirement to be start with, like we need the complete set of employee data, as I said, like we can integrate with your HRIS system, and also we need the process needs to be defined, what exactly the process we are going to implement within the software, and also the feedback forms. Once it is done, I think like these are all the basic things which we need to start up with PMS system.
Okay, thank you, Hari. Thank you, Yoga. I think it's time to wind up. Lots of questions are still coming. So we will send all the questions through email. And thank you all for attending the session. Hope you all had a good and informative session. If you have any questions, please feel free to send the email at info@synergita.com. We will send the recorded version of this webinar to all. Once again, thank you all for joining.
Thank you. Thanks, Synergita. Thanks for making this session happening, and thanks for all the participants for taking it on the right. Thank you.